I dreamt of the tall, hairy black monster again. It was pressing down on me. It was heavy, and I couldn't move. I willed myself to struggle, but my body couldn't respond. All I could do was strain to speak. "Get off! Get off!" I usually wake up after that. It happens every now and then, that dream. I've been told it's just sleep paralysis, when you're trapped between being awake and asleep. You can't move your body, and sometimes you hallucinate there's someone, or something, holding you down. Apparently lots of people experience this, and they have affectionately dubbed these hallucinations sleep paralysis demons. But one night, after the demon got off me, I didn't wake up. Instead, I watched the thing turn and drag itself away out of my bedroom. By this point, I had figured out I was dreaming, and once you figure that out, you can usually do whatever you want in the dream. So I was curious. I wanted to know where my sleep paralysis demon went after it was done haunting me. I followed it. When I walked out of my bedroom, I was no longer in my house. I stood in the dusty, dark urban dungeon that is only indicative of a subway station. I hadn't taken the subway in years, so I wondered what had pulled this from the recesses of my mind. As I walked through the blue-tiled tunnel, overhead lights flickering a warning, I could even smell the smoky, stark sadness I had come to associate with such places. A train was already pulled in, its doors agape, revealing an interior bathed in pale yellow light. There was a digital clock overhead on the platform, the red numbers reading 12 o'clock. Was it really midnight? Maybe, why not? I don't see anyone around on the platform. Was my sleep paralysis demon on the train? Or had I left that dream entirely and was now in an entirely new one? Again, I know I'm in a dream, so I wonder if the train will go anywhere. I cross the cement platform and step onto the train. The entire train car was full of sleep paralysis demons. I suppose this is where anyone else would have stepped off the train before those doors closed. But again, dream, so curiosity won out over fear. I found an available seat and sat down, and the doors to the train squealed shut. The car lurched, I felt the sway, and I was off to who knew where. It took a few minutes to look around the car. I had thought sleep paralysis demons would all look the same, but there were recognizable differences. Some were like human-sized amoebas. Some were misty like ghosts. Others were beast-like sphinxes of random parts. I couldn't spot my demon in the car anywhere. At some point, the train came to a slow, screeching stop. I saw one of the demons slowly get up and head over to the opening doors. That's the one. That's my demon. Where is it going? Does it haunt other people too? I had no idea if sleep paralysis demons could have multiple victims. Curiosity won again. I followed it off the train, having no idea if it knew I was following it, but it didn't seem to act like it did. I found myself in another bedroom. Not one I had ever seen before, but it had all the earmarks of someone who had stopped giving a crap. Socks, shirts, and underwear strewn about, a cracked TV mounted at an off angle on the wall, and I smelled what I think was cheap beer and popcorn. There was a king-size bed that smelled even worse, and someone was sleeping in it. I walked over to the bed and took a closer look at who was in it. Wait, is that Trent Brackenwood? Why the hell am I dreaming about him? I mean, I guess it wasn't that strange. I had just seen him at the class reunion a few weeks ago, but he was the last person I wanted to see, in the real world or the dream one. I'll give you the short version. Throughout high school, Trent made my life hell. I don't know why. We were both on the football team, hung out with a lot of the same people. I figured he never liked that I was always first-string quarterback. Never mind that he wasn't a good player. He had to be the best at everything. Since there was no way Trent could take me on physically, trust me, he got sneaky about it. Pulled pranks on me, spread rumors, and the teachers did nothing to help, of course. One day I had enough. I didn't care about being the bigger person anymore. I told my guidance counselor that Trent had been selling weed behind the stands after football games. Oh, most every kid at school knew he was. We just didn't talk about it. One random locker search later, and Trent's expelled for the rest of his senior year, and he isn't allowed to graduate. I was never credited as the anonymous tip, but he knew. I didn't care. Trent getting expelled did little to send his future off track anyway. His old man just set him up with a job at his company, which Trent worked his way up the ladder with ease. Given how well off his family is, I don't even know why Trent got so mad he couldn't graduate. It's not like he even needed to. Unlike some of us, who worked our asses off for scholarships just to go to university. Who worked until my body nearly broke to impress college football and NFL scouts. Didn't work out anyway. Some people just got it good for doing nothing. Hell, just for being born. While the rest of us get screwed. Then I remembered, I'm still dreaming. And I can do whatever the hell I want. Next thing I know, I pounced on Trent and wrapped my hands around his throat. A whole slew of cussing that would have made sailors blush flies from my mouth when I'm choking the smug psycho with all of my might. The more I choked him, the more pissed off I became because it looked like I wasn't getting any reaction out of him. But then, he started to lightly gasp. His breathing got faster, and his face wrinkled in towards his nose. Even without him moving, I saw the struggle, the panic. Good. I hope I'm giving you as bad a night as you gave me every day for 4 years, I snarled. And then suddenly, I felt empty, even a little sick. What was the point of this? This was just a dream. This wasn't the real Trent, and I was getting all riled up over a figment of my imagination. This wasn't making me feel better anyway. I let go of him and scooted off the bed. I just wanted to wake up. I wanted to go home. I turned around and saw the tall black monster in the corner, watching me. Was that thing influencing me? Maybe. Didn't matter. Once I woke up, everything would be back to normal. I walked out of the room and back to the train. At some point, I woke up. I checked the clock on my bedside table. It was only 4:20 in the morning. I should have gone back to sleep, but instead I thought about what probably spawned that dream in the first place. That evening 2 weeks ago at the reunion had been wedged into my thoughts like a shard of glass that I couldn't pull out. Hey, Kevin, over here. I spotted Cheryl and Doug at a table across the restaurant. I could barely hear them with everyone talking at once. I was surprised how many people had turned up for our 10th high school reunion. I thought people tended to wait for their 20th or 30th when they've established themselves and wanted to show off to classmates that they followed on Facebook. I hadn't even really planned on going, but I had just moved back to town because of my job transfer and got in touch with Cheryl, who admittedly I had been a jerk to for not reaching out to her for years. But she suggested we meet up at the reunion, which involved everyone gathering at this restaurant for a few cocktails before we headed over to the high school to watch the football game that night. She'd even pulled Doug into it. Why not? What else did I have to do? I made my way over to the table and sat down with Cheryl and Doug. They both still looked good. Cheryl flashed that famous cheerleader smile of hers. Wow, look at you! Didn't think you'd ever grow facial hair. It suits you. Honestly, I only had facial hair now because I got tired of shaving every day. Hey, Doug, you still writing? Doug's half smile gives way to a sort of huff chuckle. Yeah, when I can. Got long shifts at the bank lately. And the conversation went on like that for a while, as I thought about how this whole thing feels like a dull, uninspired after prom, until my gaze wandered over to the bar. Already knocking back a few drinks, Trent Brackenwood was laughing it up with his old buddies. God, he looked different. Tanner, bleached both in hair and tooth, grinning like he's been lobotomized. Cheryl noticed my eyes had locked on something, and she looked over. Oh, jeez. I didn't think he'd show. I thought he moved to Miami or something. Doug frowned, sighing. Nah, he just got a timeshare out there. He never shuts up about it. Hey, Kev, wasn't he the guy who put cafeteria mac and cheese in your gym shorts that one time? I didn't say anything. What was there to say? Then I saw someone walked over to Trent and put her hand on his arm. It took me a minute, but I realized. Isn't that Josephine Pearson? I asked. Oh, yeah, but she's Josephine Brackenwood now. Didn't you know? Cheryl said. They're married? She doesn't seem his type. Well, I heard he only started dating her a few months before he was expelled, right after Evie Vanderburg dumped him. It was just to royally piss her off. Like he'd rather date the school the nerdy girl rather than the queen bee. But I guess he realized he liked dating someone who wasn't a total psycho. Josephine's probably been good for him. I remembered Josephine. We didn't hang out much, but she had tutored me after school for a while when I was failing my English Lit class. I had to keep my GPA up to stay on the football team, so I owed her for helping me. She looked pretty much the same, still had short brown hair, sheepish grin, although her glasses were no longer those huge, round Harry Potter ones. Now she wore smaller half-moon readers. It showed more of her face. Josephine looked over at me and got a wide-eyed, tight-lipped look on her face. She gently took Trent by the arm, diverting his attention to something across the room, and started to lead him away. Trent never even noticed me, but as they went, she glanced one more time back at me, apologetically. I'm guessing she didn't want to risk a fight breaking out. Hey, you okay, man? I heard Doug ask, although it took me a moment for me to register it. Yeah, I'm fine. But I think I'm going to go. Maybe we can meet up for lunch sometime? Cheryl gave me a smile, although her brow was furrowed like she was sympathetic. Sure, Kev. Glad you're back, we missed you. Thought you were going to go off and be a big football star and never come. She stopped herself, biting her lip, and her cheeks flushed a little. It's okay, Cher. I'm glad I'm back, too. Life takes us down different roads than what we originally had mapped out, I left after that. I spent the rest of the evening at home, listening to my Spotify playlist, knocking back a Budweiser, and wallowing in my own self-pity. Nothing glamorous, I know. My knee still hurts sometimes, even with the brace. Amazing how when one tiny thread tears, your life unravels. The morning after my dream, I went to the coffee shop on the square before work. While I was waiting for my order, in strolls Trent, looking like he's just been hit by an SUV. He stunk of Axe body spray and whatever he must have regurgitated in his sleep. His suit was crumpled, he probably slept in it, and his hair stuck up in places like straw. I thought about just leaving without my coffee, but I didn't want him thinking I was scared of him. I just stood by the counter while he ordered something with enough espresso to kill an elephant. He then glanced over at me as if he finally saw me. Hey, Kev! Heard you were in town. Thought you'd have been at the reunion. I shrugged. I was. Must have missed you. Hey, you gonna treat your main man like that? Come here. He turned fully towards me like he was coming in for a hug. What was with this guy? Then I saw it as he came closer. Bloodshot eyes, the stink on his breath, the sluggish walk, the fact he needed that much caffeine. He was fighting off a hangover. I stepped back before he could get his arms around me. However, I noticed the large purple-green welts all over his neck. He tried to cover up most of them with the collar of his shirt, but I saw some bruising near his Adam's apple. Trent, what happened to your neck? He looked confused at first, but then he touched his fingers to the bruises. Oh, God, I don't know. Must have gotten into a fight at the bar last night. Can't even remember it. If this is the worst I got, the other guy must look like a real shit show. I raised an eyebrow. You don't seem nonplussed by that. He squinted at me. I couldn't tell if it was irritation or exhaustion. Don't go throwing $20 words at me before coffee. Jojo does that, and I hate that. Jojo? You mean Josephine? Yeah, Jojo. She said she used to help you with your homework in high school. Don't worry. I know it was all innocent. My Jo's a good girl. Speaking of who, does she appreciate you getting into bar fights and getting wasted? Trent snorted a laugh. She ain't even home right now. We got into an argument a few days ago. She went to her mom's house to cool off. She always comes back. I narrowed my eyes on him. Seriously, you're not even going to call her to apologize or anything. Hey, I wasn't wrong. He let out a tired sigh. But sometimes I think you had it right, Kev. You never got married right. You just let your relationships last as long as they should. You don't try to make them last way past their expiration date by tying the knot. I wanted to punch this guy in the face so badly. But then the barista called my name. Hey, that's mine. I gotta go to work. See ya. Work? You mean you moved back here? Why? Honestly, I realized what a damn good question that was, but I couldn't even answer it before he kept going. What the hell happened to you? Thought you would have been playing in the NFL by now. You quit or something? My lip curled in irritation. I was surprised he didn't already know, given the gossip in this town. Well, I tore my ACL freshman year of college. I had surgery, but it was never the same. I changed my major to insurance and risk management. I work for an insurance firm, got transferred here, but I plan to open up my own business in a few years. It felt like time stopped as Trent gave me a look like I had just grown a third eye in the middle of my forehead. Then this greasy little grin starts to crawl up his face. His lips pulled back away from his donkey teeth, and from somewhere at the back of his throat, he made a I narrowed my eyes again. What do you mean, huh? I mean, huh. It's weird. Funny. I'm sorry, funny? Well, come on, it is. You get the full ride scholarship, get all the scouts checking you out, it all goes down the shitter. It's like in a movie or something. Some guy royally screws over his friend, so the universe finds a way to screw him back. It's weird when it happens for real, like karma or something. Friend? Did this douchebag just say friend? I must have had a look on my face like I wanted to kill him. Because I did. His stupid-ass grin faltered a little. Hey, relax, I'm just messing with you. I mean, you look like you're doing okay for yourself. But let's be fair, you did do me dirty in high school. If I honestly thought he was worth more than my $2.35 coffee, I'd have knocked every plastic-looking tooth out of his mouth. Instead, I just grabbed my cup and walked out. Karma. I'll show you karma, friend.